I am live. It looks like I'm live. Okay, guys. Why am I live streaming today? Let me tell you why. It's very, very important. I want to be really careful here to stay mentally in the zone. Sometimes I'll get some insider ideas about my creative process and my life path that I just feel like I really want to share. This is one of those. So I'll just chat about it while I load up the score for the Salt and Light episode. Be that one. I went back and reread what I had written for episode 4 of this show. Okay? And hang on. I'm gonna cancel that. Okay. And it's the most amazing thing. I had written the first 2 scenes of episode 4, but it was it was at least a couple weeks ago when I did it, so I didn't remember what I had written. And I kid you not, I blurted out laughing twice in the space of 3-4 minutes of just reading 2 scenes from this show. And I was amazed. It felt like it wasn't even written by me. And the reason it felt that way is because when I wrote it, I had, and in fact, going into episode 4 generally, I had, I think I've mentioned here before, determined to more closely follow my partner Valerie's path that she follows in her method of writing, which is she literally does not have any idea what's going to happen next in a book that she's writing. And you'll just have to take my word for it that because she hasn't published, she's got like 10 books and she hasn't published them yet. I'm like, geez, Val, when you're really ready to go, we probably want to scale this out over time or something. But the point is that, I've read a lot of books. And I'm telling you, her books are really good. Compelling characters, compelling situations, well-paced plot. Really impressive. And I'm like, how the hell do you do this? And she's like, she doesn't know how she does it. She just does it. She hasn't read any books on how to author a book. She doesn't know or care about 3-act structure or any of the various paradigms out there. What she does do is she writes very quickly from the gut and then goes back later and reviews what she wrote and just trims it up and basically is just super sensitive as an empathic person, as an autistic person and an empathic person. She is a super smeller and super taster. She has sensitivities that maybe I don't have. She has the ability to be very tuned into just how does it feel. And she trusts it 100%. She trusts herself 100%. She doesn't care what's trending. She doesn't care what anyone else thinks. She's in her own little world doing her own thing. And the freakish thing about it is I've read the books. Well, 3 of them anyway. 2.5, I should say. And I'm going, this is really good. And I'm a credible critic. I've written a dozen screenplays, including screenplays of movies that have made $1 million. I know good writing when I see it. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to kind of break away from sort of Dramatica and sort of some of these paradigms I've gone with. I'm just going to go with what feels good. And I'm going to try to cultivate this characteristic that she seems to have, which is she absolutely trusts herself. What it is she doesn't trust her own intellect because she knows that there's always more to learn. But what she does trust is her emotions and she trusts her. I don't know if I should say emotions either because emotions can trip you up. It's really hard to identify this. Let's call it feeling. Let's distinguish between a feeling and an emotion Because an emotion can be kind of a side effect that then steers you in a direction that sometimes is not the right direction. Strong emotions make us react. So when I refer to feelings, I'm referring to something a little different. It's that inner voice. And anyway, what was crazy about it is I'm reading the darn thing, in other words, my screenplay for episode 3. And I'm reading the first 2 scenes, and I'm like, I don't remember reading it, and now that I'm reading it, it's making me laugh, and it's feeling really germane to the larger plot that's unfolding over, the course of this show. And I thought, man, I mean, what do I want to say to the Nagut 40s out there, to the Amars out there, to the people that have followed me for literally years? I want to say the biggest expense that we probably as creative people incur is it's probably internal debate. We probably waste more hours and more energy, literally energy, like literally, because it exhausts you. Using your brain is expensive. It's the most energetically expensive thing you do. This is not esoterica. We're talking about physics here. We're talking about the way the body actually works. Your brain uses like 30-40% of your energy. So when you engage in internal debate, you're essentially enslaved to that process. And here's the damnedest thing about it is, do you think that that process is going to bring you the right answer? Come on. If it was, it would have a long time ago. So I'm thinking, what's the takeaway here? What is it that what is it that the universe seems to be showing me that I want to learn and I want to share? And it's this. Don't waste time debating over whether your idea for your animated cartoon is a good idea, or it's the right idea, or whether it'll be trendy, or whether it'll be successful. This is all nonsense, because it's all blowing away energy forever on questions that you cannot possibly answer. Here's what's true, though, friend. What is true is that your voice and your unique combination of genetics, lived experience, trauma, intelligence, your unique recipe that makes you a unique individual makes you a unique creator. And there's no escaping this. The real fact of the matter is, have you accepted it yet? Have you accepted that this is absolutely, manifestly, and inescapably true? That you have a unique voice. The salesman in me kind of wants to come back to the law of 100, because I have a pretty good background in sales and negotiation, that sort of thing. My law of 100 says if I think something's cool, at least one other person in 100 will think it's cool. So there's never a problem with whether what you think is meaningful or compelling or attractive will turn on other people. I guarantee you it will. The problem is you got to find them. That's the problem. That's where the effort's required. That's where, people need to do some promotion and marketing, which I've done slavishly little of here regarding this show, frankly. But, I just say that by way of encouragement. The law of 100 says that if you think it's cool, it's cool. So then the problem is that doesn't solve your problem, because your problem is still going to be internal debate, where you're looking at all kinds of different factors that inform for you the judgment of whether what you think you want to do is good. And the problem is this, and this is why I come back to the script. When I looked at the script this morning, I looked at 2 scenes that I literally don't remember writing. Because when I wrote them so fast, and I was trying to do like Valerie. I was trying to stay so tuned in to just how does this feel as I go along. Does it feel good or not? Does it feel dramatic? Does it feel comedic? Is it working for me? If it is, keep going. If it's not, frickin' change it. Nobody else is going to come out of the woodwork like some magical spirit and tell me the answer. Creatively, the most important thing you can do is move fast, actually. Not because you're in a hurry to get going. Not because you're in a hurry to accomplish something. The idea of accomplishment, or the idea of a judgment that it's good or bad, or that you could predict that, is all nonsense. 100% nonsense. Good or bad is a judgment. It's not a state. It's not a condition of something. It's a judgment. It's an opinion. And the most important opinion in your creative process is yours. Because the more closely you can align with and honor your own sensibilities, the more your natural voice will emerge. It isn't a question of whether that's valid or has value to yourself or to the marketplace. It is absolutely axiomatic that it has value. Oh my God. I mean, if 3 years before Toy Story came out, you would have said, especially if you had the context of the current state of CGI. Okay? Think about the current state of CGI in 1992. And then somebody comes along and tells you, yeah, we're going to create an hour and a half long movie that's all CGI that's about a bunch of fucking toys. You would have told them they were out of their mind. You would have told them they were nuts. I am sure. Well, you know what? They just did it. And obviously there's lots of complications. Having Steve Jobs come in and help with funding and all that, all those things mattered. All those things contributed. But the point is, the final result was undeniable. And it had the unique stamp of the creative individuals involved in creating it. Guess what? That's true for you too. So we all have the problem of finding our tribe. My tribe is essentially non-existent, for God's sake. I've got 3,000 subscribers. I'm nothing. On YouTube, I'm nothing. I'm literally unheard of. No one cares. And you know what? That's okay. That's okay. Right now, while I'm talking, several people are hearing me talk. But my sense personally at the moment is I'm just basically talking to myself. I'm talking to the room. And that's perfectly legit. It's valid. If it feels good, if it's working for me. So again, creatively, I want to tell you guys, if you're, Amar, if you're debating, if there's anything in you that's debating whether what you think you want to do is what you should do, stop giving energy to that debate. It's worthless. The answer is never going to arrive because the universe already gave you the answer. The answer is you got to do it to a small degree, to a degree. It's like, okay, I always come back to stock trading as a metaphor for life. Here's the thing. If I think I have a strategy that's going to make me profit, then the thing to do is try that strategy with an amount of money that's enough that it hurt. If I lose, it'll hurt a little bit, but it's a small enough amount of money that I've got some skin in the game, and I can find out if that strategy works or not. Try it with something small, but try something that's completely congruent with what you really freaking want to do. And then what will happen is you will be able to observe several things. Number one, you will be able to observe, how did the process feel? Was it as fun as the compelling image I had in my mind of how fun it would be? Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. I would say that for me, the actual process of animation is it's a mixed bag. In some respects, it's just as satisfying as my sort of emotions would think it was going to be, and in some respects, it's just okay. Now, by contrast, when I do like I did last night, where I spent an hour and a half really pounding on the piano, I'm like playing Scott Joplin type stuff. I'm playing, ragtime, because it involves a lot of coordination. And the question becomes, is the creative process of sort of making stuff up on the keyboard as fun and satisfying as sort of my gut would have told me it would be? In that particular instance, I got to tell you, the answer is yes. The more facility I gain, the more coordination I gain, the more I'm able to merge what my mind hears and what my hands can produce, the more those come together. Yes, the answer is yes. The more satisfying it is, and it facilitates greater creativity going forward. Okay? So the point is, trust yourself enough to try. And if it means just try a little bit, then try a little bit, but freaking do something. My point is not that, maybe you have been doing something. Okay, but my point is, if you're like me, where in the past you've given a lot of energy to internal debate just understand that energy is gone forever. It's gone. And nothing about that internal debate got you any closer to the answer. The only thing that was ever going to help you is take what you feel you're attracted to and do a little bit of it. Then observe the results. How did it feel? You not only now have the ability to judge how it felt, but also you can judge the result. Is the outcome, does it feel good? Is it an expression that I enjoy looking at? So you do kind of need to get away from it for a bit, so you kind of forget what you did, and you can come back to it fresh, and you see things you didn't see before. Okay? So this is just to encourage everybody to, open the creative doors, to trust yourself and freaking try. Just try. Maybe it'll go well, maybe it won't. So if your debate is like, oh, I'm worried it's not going to go well, guess what? It's 50-50, dude or girl. It's 50-50. It may go poorly, and that's okay. Why? Because after it goes poorly, you know more than you did before. Now you know how much or how little you enjoyed the process. What makes it difficult is when the angst surrounding the outcome bleeds into the process itself, where the worry about how it's going to turn out actually causes the lived experience of doing it to be negative. That's a problem. So you do have to discipline your way through that to an extent. And probably the cure to that problem is having a specific goal that's so humble that you pretty much can't fail if you give it an hour or two, and then freaking give it that hour or two. At least do that, so that you can say, I completed what I set out to do, and now I can judge it, and the only judgment that matters is my judgment. How do I feel about the process? How do I feel about the outcome? That's it. Nothing else matters. Now, from the standpoint of informing your process or your skill set, am I saying that there's no value in education or advice? Absolutely not. Education and advice can be very useful. The more strategic you can be about what you get advice on, the better. And that requires you to be very honest with yourself about what you currently are capable of. But how the hell do you know what you're currently capable of if you don't complete something? So if you're an animator, only complete 10 seconds. And then be absolutely ruthless with yourself in your judgment of how you're doing. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're kind of a newbie, it's probably going to be pretty awful. That's okay. Do you think, just think of the best animator you can think of, or the best creator of music, or the best writer. Just think about the best creator you can think of. How did they start? There is literally one path, and that is forward. You go. You go. You try. You do. And then you get away from it for a bit, you look at it, and you say, how are we doing? Okay, so with all that in mind, I'm going to do the same, because I did do some scoring on the show the other day, and I literally don't remember what I did. I just don't remember. It's too much to recall. So I'm going to close that up, and I guess I can see, I'm just going to go back a little ways. Let's pop up the video track. So the purpose of this is just to review what I did and see if I like where things are going or not. I guess we'll start back here, because that's where... Yeah, let's just kind of flow with this. I may turn the voices off to get a better listen to the soundtrack, but let's just roll with this.
I brought a tonic to help you sleep. Thank you, good Golek.
Okay, I came back to the original Salt and Light theme there. Bum, 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 bum. That's all over the place in the first two episodes. So far, to me, this feels completely pro. I really like it. By the way, who the hell is here?
You're all wet.
Why does my stream say... Hang on
River?
a second. I'm going to pause for a second here. My stream says... I've never seen this before. My stream says, sorry, live chat is currently unavailable. That's pretty weird. I've never seen that before. So bear with me, friends. I'm going to pop over to my YouTube channel for just a second here, see what's going on. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go to my channel in a private window so I can see it as if I was a... I'm going to go to my private window so I can see my own channel as if I were you and see what's going on, because I apologize, guys. I've never seen this happen before. So I'm popping up the live stream. I'm going to turn off the sound so we don't get a feedback loop. And it says, welcome to live chat. But, okay, for me, it says welcome to live chat, but it doesn't appear that there's a way for me to contribute to the live chat. And then YouTube says, hey, by the way, be sure to guard your privacy and abide by community guidelines. So, and then there's a thing, okay, so guys, I've never seen this before. So there's this thing at the bottom that says, join the conversation to interact with the creator and others watching this live stream. Okay, let's give that a shot. And I click open panel, or I click this, and nothing appears to happen. So, guys, I'm going to kill that window. Look, let me just put it this way. What I said in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, was a message for you guys if you're creative people. I don't know why there's no chat available at the moment. I find it really annoying because, you know, there's several people watching, and I would love to know, first of all, who's watching, and, you know, let's have a conversation. So I seem to be screwed from doing that. Let me ask you this. Golly. Why don't we do this? Let me try ending the stream, and then 2 minutes later I'm going to restart it and see if that makes any difference. Because I wonder if maybe there's some setting that I missed. Look, when I created the live stream, it used all the settings from a previous live stream other than one little change in the description. Okay? So there's no reason I'm aware of that the chat should be disabled. Now, before I end the stream and restart it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a few things here and see if there's anything that I'm missing. And, guys, I tell you what. Also, here's the other thing I'm going to do. Actually, I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to jump over to Discord. Okay, on my own Discord. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my general. I'm going to go to my general channel. Last thing that was on there was a post that Amar did. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that open on my third screen so that if people want to chat at the moment or have anything to say, you can weigh in on the Discord. Because this is really annoying. I don't know why we don't have any chat. So if anybody listening is also on my Discord, put something in the general conversation to just let me know you're here and what your experience is, because I'm finding it all a bit weird. And then what I will do is I'll coast with this for a couple minutes to see if anybody does weigh in on the Discord. Somebody's typing. So somebody is here. Thank you for letting me know what's going on, because that's weird. It's always something. Okay, chat is working perfectly normal to me. Okay, good. All right, well then I'm going to close the Discord window for myself. And yeah, well, I just be aware that I can't see it. So you guys are chatting among yourselves today, apparently.
Hey guys,
Dang.
look what we
Stupid
found.
stuff.
Berries. I'm not sure I'm in a berry mood.
Finally, we agree on something.
You're missing out. Unbelievably yummy. Gripson is not far.
That
But
feels maybe slightly thick to me.
Gripson is not far.
Yeah, let me kill the Vox. Boom, and I just want to listen to this for a minute. I think it's the drone that's bugging me. Yep, that's it. Okay. Yeah, that feels okay. So let's go ahead and keep it here. Split that, and then let's just lower the velocity on that trombone note a lot. And you guys, again, I may stop the live stream here and restart it just to see if I get my chat back, because it's very weird that I wouldn't have it. Very strange. I've never had that happen before. Yeah, okay. That feels better. Well, and that harkens back to what I was saying in the first part of the live stream today. All I'm trying to do is just be really sensitive to how it feels. That's it. And that just felt a little bit thick to me. Okay, let's turn the voices back on.
But isn't Nippur more that way? We will make better time on the river. And I'm pretty sure it winds around to Nippur.
It does. What?
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure it winds around.
What? My mother's a merchant.
I'm feeling like maybe I want that to be a little thinner. Let me think about that. Okay, I'm going to check back here on this piccolo track. Let me go up a couple octaves here. Do we have MIDI today? We seem to have that. How come the piccolo's giving me nada? How strange. Let's pull up the orchestra. And I wonder why we're not getting MIDI into that track. It's actually just as well. I mean, it doesn't really matter because I'm not really using that piccolo much. I'll have to investigate that later, but I'll save my work. Let's keep going. What I'm looking for is something just a bit
Make better time on the river. And I'm pretty sure it winds around to Nippur.
It does.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is take the French horn out and see if it feels
Isn't
better.
Nippur more that way? We will make better time on the river. And I'm pretty sure it winds around to Nippur.
It does. What?
Okay, now that's interesting. That's very much out of time. I mean, I must have just been improvising that, and in the context with the voices and ambient sound and everything, it must have felt okay, because that is pretty out of time. Very interesting. Right there. Yes. Okay, yeah. Okay, so what I was doing is just a chromatic walk up the scale to kind of build up the you guys know what I'm trying to say. Let's add this back in. Okay. Yes, this makes sense. Let's do this. Let's take these notes, bring them down just a bit, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this in the spiccato, because I want a little bit more aggressive punch on this. Yep, but this needs to be pretty muted. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is shorten all of these so that they just kind of sneak in there. Yeah, so it just gives the beginning of it a little bit of a bite. Now, what happens if we take the French horn? I don't know, let's put it in the trumpets, because trumpets are going to be thinner. Ooh, that's hot. Not a good thing. Yeah, that does not sound thin. So I'm gonna, let's see, let's kill these tracks for a moment. Okay, so now we've got some overlap, obviously, here that looks like, it's probably okay. Let's just see what else we could do with this. Oh. Yeah, the timing is definitely winky. But I'm going to give myself a little slack here and assume I was interacting with just the feeling of the tempo of the conversation. So let's do this. Turn this way down. Okay, that's probably okay. Let's crank these back on. And then since this is softer, I may put it back in the French horns. Okay, so now this spiccato feels a little aggressive to me, but that's okay. Let's just turn the velocities down a bit and put this back in the French horn with the more muted velocities in that as well. Okay, so as a mix, that sounds pretty good.
And I'm pretty sure it winds around to Nippur.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
What? My mother's a merchant. We travel.
See?
However, traveling along the river.
Okay, right there, there's something a little more dissonant I think I'm looking for.
However, traveling.
I think it's that. Okay, I need to not be 12 octaves up.
However.
Okay, so there's the note that the clarinet's hitting. Okay, let's try a dominant seventh and a 2. Put that on either side of it and see if that gives us a level of dissonance that just feels good. So this is going to be very soft, but it's just to add some ambiguity.
However, traveling along the river.
Okay, not bad, not bad. Let's listen to the difference between the two.
However.
See, that's clearer.
However, traveling along the river.
Yeah, I like that less now that I hear it. I'm going to go with total dissonance, so I'm going to put yes, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to wrap that final note, this note, in a diminished chord. Get it? Okay, so I'm going to put this on either side of that.
However, traveling along the
yeah, and I'm going to do it that way with the rhythm. So here we go.
However, traveling along the river is more. However, traveling along the river.
Okay, so I don't know if I love it, but that's okay. I'm going to leave it in there for now. When I listen to it in the studio later, through the good speakers, maybe I'll like it or maybe I'll hate it. Who knows?
Traveling along the river is more.
But the point vis-a-vis today's whole conversation is just do it. Do something. It's very important. Do something because then you've got something to fix. That was kind of the main point this morning. As opposed to, well, I want to do something that's inspired. I want to do something that's beautiful. Well, okay. If you have the ability to just make that happen like that, then cool. I don't.
Traveling along the river is more conspicuous.
Okay. Okay, I'm hearing something very interesting right here. Let's take these notes out. I'm just going to throw this down. This is probably not going to work at all. What I'm doing is something that's kind of like what I think I'm hearing in my head.
Traveling along the river. Traveling along the river is more conspicuous.
I actually like that better. It's very subtle. Let's take the voices out and I guess we can solo the orchestra. almost sounds a little too ominous, but that's okay. Let's just keep rolling.
Is more conspicuous.
On the river.
Okay, so yeah, I remember the thinking here was now you've kind of got that bouncing around and that is a little bit of ominous, a little bit of bouncy. Now let's smooth it out a little bit, right? Let's
Is more conspicuous.
On the river.
soften things, you might say.
In our boat.
Ooh, I like that chord.
What boat?
Monkey and I sort of found one. Found one. Monkey and I sort of found one. Found? Yep.
I don't even want to know.
I told you. I improvise.
I honestly, in the headphones, I don't really think that the timpani there.
I told you. I improvise.
It's not a timpani, apparently. What the heck am I hearing?
I told.
I'm gonna solo that again. Oh. Okay, I guess I got a little excited. That's a bit extreme, maybe, but right there. Yeah, the tan ta ta ta. Let's go with it. We'll keep going with it. It's okay. I like it. Oh, yes. I forgot I did this. Okay, so what happened here was, maybe I talked about this in an earlier live stream. I think it seems like I remember talking about it. But what I did was, there was just a goofy little piece of music I had created just for something to do, probably 3 years ago or something. And I just thought, well, what if I stick that in here and see how it feels? So here we've got the cabbage guy. And my basic thinking was, this is all kind of negative or dark. You know, it's like they're looking for Tianara, it's the soldiers kind of thing, blah, blah, blah. What if we go against the grain, the complete opposite, and put in something that's bouncy and silly? I think it worked. I think it worked really well.
I want soldiers stationed at every throughway.
Sir,
I
So,
like it.
the rumors were true. Our prince's runaway bride is still on the loose.
Unbelievable.
All right. I want you to make sure.
I'll make sure we're stocked with ingredients.
Yeah, okay, right. It's gonna be a busy day.
So this is grip.
I think
Yes.
that really worked.
How
Busy day.
I wish I could see if anyone else has the same opinion, but the stupid chat doesn't want to work. I wonder if, actually, let me go back to the private window, because if the chat's working for you guys, it should be showing up in a private window for me, because let me go back to the private window, because if the
Okay,
chat's
so I
working
can
for
see
you
the live
guys,
chat over here,
it
so
should be
I gotta mute the audio.
Yeah, Williams Art, Cabbage Guy. Yeah, I stole the Cabbage Guy. And hi, Maria. It's good to see you. It's been a long time. Jim P. It's been a while. Darren. It's been a while. So yes, thank you guys for being here, and we'll just keep cranking ahead. So yeah, that's quite useful. I'll tell you what I'm doing is I'm actually, in a sort of wacky way, I'm rearranging my windows on my other screen so that the only thing I can see in the other window is the chat. That way you guys can weigh in with whatever you want, and I can respond to it verbally. So that works.
Busy
cool.
day.
So this is Gripson. Yes. How bad can it be?
Famous last words. Right?
How bad can it be?
Hold it right there.
Okay, so I want to say that I think this sort of dramatic figure is very well done. It feels good in terms of doing what it is intended to do. It's a little extreme for the scene.
Hold it
But
right.
I decided to keep running
Hold
with
it right there. Have any of you folks seen a girl who looks like this?
How would I know? As you can see, in Gripson, our ladies must dress modestly.
She's from Newsy, so she shouldn't be hard to spot. If you see her, let us know.
Yes, of course. I had heard that Gripson is very religious, but I had no idea.
I was here when I was 12. It's changed a lot.
This is gonna be tricky if we're gonna find food.
If I had a head covering.
You shouldn't call attention to yourself.
I'm not, the the music might be a little hot,
I
but
agree.
basically I like
Deer
the way it
should lay
feels.
low. Looks like it's up to us.
Now, you could take it out completely. Here's what happens if we take it
I
out
was here
completely.
when I was 12.
It's probably going to be
It's
fine.
changed a lot.
This is gonna be tricky if we're gonna find food.
If I had a head covering.
You shouldn't call attention to yourself.
Yeah, so I would say this whole bit is a little hot for sure. Let's just take everything. Golly. I'm going to say, let's just take all this stuff. Okay, that's the volume it is at now. I'm not tweaking the volume, I'm tweaking the velocity of the notes that are struck. Okay, right there probably softened it enough to make it
Changed a
work better.
lot.
This is gonna be tricky if we're gonna find food.
If I had a head covering.
You shouldn't call attention to yourself.
Boy, it's still pretty hot. So it's basically this sequence right here. I'm going to turn it all down to Zippo and see how it feels.
Food.
In other words, at a velocity of 1, which obviously if the velocity is at 0, the notes might as well disappear. So at a velocity of 1, you still hear
Food.
it.
If I had a head covering.
You shouldn't call attention to yourself.
Yes, I like that. That feels good.
I agree.
It's
Deer
there,
should
but it's
lay low.
soft. Okay, and so you can hear this note just jump in like...
I agree. Deer should lay low.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is set all of these... Actually, let's just do it this way. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to select... I can't talk. Let's set the velocity to 3. Tone these guys down.
I agree. Deer should lay low. Looks like it's up to us, Mel.
You know how to beg.
Although
Forgot
I
about that
prefer
one.
not to. Besides,
Okay, this...
although I prefer not
Yeah,
to.
I don't like this. This comes in... Let's just let it come in after he says his line and see if it feels better.
Although I prefer not to.
Yes,
Besides,
way better.
those soldiers know Luca.
And they ordered him back into Newsy last night.
And if they found Deer's pendant, they will know that I lied to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it, Melchizedek.
Me?
If these people are so religious, maybe they know Asher, and I can score a few points on Asher's street cred.
This probably needs to
The
be
same act.
deleted or at least toned way down.
Me? If these people are so religious,
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
it's
they know
probably fine.
Asher, and I can score a few...
Go ahead and bake in that lower velocity. Yeah, that's cool.
Me? If these people are so religious, maybe they know Asher, and I can
So
score a
nothing's
few
really going
points
on
on
in the chat,
Asher's
looks
street cred.
The same Asher who has a price on his head. And suspected of helping me escape.
I would keep your connection to Asher very much on the down low. That blasted Asher. Asher? If it wasn't for his meddling, we wouldn't be in this mess. Says Golik.
That's a bold low note. I like it.
Yeah, that's right. Destiny is a funny thing.
Thanks, Maria.
Tell me, young prince, did you want this marriage that came about in a matter of days? I know you...
Actually, I'm going to pause for a second. Let me throw this out to you, the group, because I don't know who's still here, but you guys, pretty much all of you, are really, really long-term followers. Maria, Darren, Jim, Williams are... everybody's been around for a while. And I have been thinking about, like, what is it... This kind of circles back to the beginning of today's conversation, but it's like, what is it about my channel and my content that just doesn't feel right to me? And it seems to me part of it is that it's not, in the past, it hasn't been concise, for one thing. When I live stream in particular, you guys have all seen me do, rants about Krita or whatever. I don't really want to do that stuff anymore. I want to really be focused on how to, again, circling back to the beginning of this live stream. Look, how can I take what I've learned in the creative space and just at least throw something out there that's helpful, that helps people move the needle on their own creative experience? It seems to me that's more important. And so, kind of to Maria's comment, it isn't just animation, because these things are all the same. Animation, writing, even code, writing code, creating music. They're all the same, because the psycho-emotional facilitators or barriers that we encounter in our process are pretty much the same no matter what it is we're doing. So the question I'm throwing out there to you guys is, what do you want to see? Like, do you want to see a concise 3-minute video that really encapsulates some technique in, Tahoma 2D or Blender or something? Is that what you like? What do you want to see? Or does it turn out what you want to see is exactly what I'm doing? Just animation Truman Show, just show the live process as it happens, the way it happens, and with a little commentary. I'm just kind of curious about that, how you guys feel about what I'm doing and how I could maybe do it better. Now, if what you think I could maybe do better is congruent with what I feel I want to do, then I'll probably do it. And if it isn't, I'll say, okay, that's interesting that you want that, but I'll pass. But I need to know. You know what I'm saying? So, anyway, thought I'd throw that out there. Just pop something in the comments, friends.
I know you didn't. If you weren't dancing about in the woods, you'd be back home dancing on the head of a pin.
So I feel like this score,
Dancing
this section is sufficiently understated. Most of this is played on the contrabass. It's got a pretty good feel to it. Those low notes grab pretty nicely.
Dancing on the head of a pin. For those who benefit from your enslavement.
What is this with the French horn?
Enslavement to a path you did not
Very
choose
subtle.
for yourself. It's my duty. A prince doesn't marry for love. Again, says Golik.
Okay, so it looks like what I kind of had in mind here was that this was underscored, and then the background walla of the tavern kind of comes up a little higher.
Enslavement to a path you did not choose for yourself. It's my duty.
Okay, so now the question I'm asking myself would be, okay, thank you, Maria. I'm going to read your comments real quick. Just join in when you listen to what you have to say or discuss with you in the group. Okay. It's funny because I suspect that probably other people feel that way. And I do think that my own attitude, some of the rants and whatnot, may have harmed the general, let's just say, attractiveness of my content. I don't know. But,
Pavement.
and that's why I started doing it, because I said, that's what I would like to see or hear. And by the way, Full Chain, again, haven't seen you in a while. I'm glad to see you here. Your creative path keeps running away. If you're still here, Full Chain, I would love it if you would have the courage to expand on your comment there earlier. You say your creative path keeps running away. Well, I assume, that's a funny comment, but I assume that there's something serious behind it. I think, for me, what happens on this channel in the live chat it'd be more cool and more interesting if I can encourage you to go ahead and get past that sort of, you kind of throw that comment out there. It's a laugh, but is there more to it, man? Like, is there... and by the way, I've got to scroll down. I might be missing some chat. I guess I'm not. No, I think it'd be cool if you would expand on what you mean by that. And maybe as a group, we can help you find a path that you can stay on for a bit, You just like watching the process. You're the fastest animator out there. Now I don't know if that's true. I know I am on the fast side for sure. Appreciate your opinions and advice you're willing to share. Okay, cool. All right, well, let's keep going here. When I started talking again, I think what was going through my mind was that because we are live streaming right now, I don't know if I feel I have the sensitivity at the moment to come up with new ideas right now, live on the live stream. So this section is pretty blank as far as underscore. Don't know if I'm going to be able to pull something out
Enslavement
right
to
now.
a path you did not choose for yourself. It's my...
Okay, but let's try. Okay, so I'm just going to flow with this. I'm going to double check my notes. Let's just flow with this. The note here is we've got an E under an A, so essentially it's an A chord. It's a fourth with the 5 on the bottom. Okay, so it's basically this. Right? Okay, what is that over top of, though? A G. Okay, so that's interesting. So what you have is you've got E, G, A. I'm going to jump it up an octave so you can kind of feel what it feels like. That's what's actually being played there. When you play it all tight as a cluster, it sounds really ominous. If you played it as a... Let me double check this. I might be wrong. I might have told you wrong. Yeah, okay, that's right. The A is on top. If we put the A on the bottom and the G up top, so it's a dominant 7th on the A chord, you'd get this, which is pretty clean. What's actually being played is this in the French horns, but then the G below in the contrabass. Okay. Let's go ahead and have fun with dropping this down an octave, since it is the contrabass after all. Let's just give it a little more bottom.
Enslavement. Enslavement to a
Okay,
path you
that feels good. All right, and now here I'm going to just take this. Well, let's see. Okay, I didn't mean to duplicate the A. Let's take this. Go ahead and stretch that out to there. But now I'm going to take the E that's on the bottom. Let me see if it's okay to have some air inside of it. Hang on.
path you did not choose.
Yeah, it doesn't matter because it all goes by too quick. So what I'm going to do is take this note. I'm going to hit the star key. I'm going to go plus 12. When I put in plus 12, that means take this note and do the math, which means raise it an octave. Very quick and handy. I can just use my numpad to change notes.
To a path you did not choose for your...
Okay. Okay, and what I'm feeling here is this note. Yes, G. It wants to come to the G. Okay, I think.
Enslavement. Enslavement to a path you did not choose for yourself.
Okay, okay. Given that, let me extend this. That's the loop point, by the way, that you're seeing there. So let's extend this all the way down to here. And I'm going to take the higher G out of the contrabass. I'm just going to stretch this way out because I can always cut it off anywhere I want.
Not choose for yourself. It's my duty.
Okay, okay. That worked. What happened was, by the higher G dropping out and this jumping up to a G, what it did was it created sort of this overhang, so you sort of drop over the cliff musically and a lot of the mid-range drops out, but the feeling of it carries over.
Not choose for yourself. It's my duty. Prince.
Leaving that G in there, I'm going to say was a really good move.
It's my duty.
Okay, dumb question from a total music novice. Did you say 12 is 9? Yeah. Yeah, if you count the actual half steps. So there's a C. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then the 13th note is back to C. Now, when people talk about chords, that's not what they mean by the numbers. If I say 5, I don't mean 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's actually a third. So when people use numbers in music, they're referring to... So there's really... an octave is obviously 8, right? So there's actually 7 chords and then you're at the octave. Okay. So when someone refers to 5, for example, in the key of C, the 5 would be G, not E. If you counted chromatically, it would be E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But if you count diatonically, which means major scale, according to the major scale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is G. Okay? So when you're doing the math in Reaper on MIDI notes, it's doing the math chromatically. Okay? There you go. So I'm sure that's a pretty complete answer for you.
To a path you did not choose
Okay.
for yourself.
So what I'm trying to do, so I'm really trying to help you guys understand what I'm doing here, because you guys can do this too. Okay? You can find a free digital orchestra that you can use for sure, and you can download Reaper today if you want to. So yeah, there's going to be a learning curve, but it isn't as if you guys couldn't do this. The key is, if you're not musical, the key is really being sensitive to your feelings. Because if you can feel, you can do music. I personally have had a slower development process than I should have had, for the simple reason that I've intellectually fought with myself, where instead of just trusting what I feel, I just had so many stupid ideas, like, this should work and that should work. And then what the result was particularly in one movie I can think of, I'm not even going to say the name of the movie, but it's a movie I wrote and directed. And when I scored it, I was trying to make the score kind of comedic, like it is in this show, frankly. And it's so bad. It is the worst score ever. The music's constantly drawing attention to itself. I mean, it's really bad. Anyway, let's keep going. So my point was that I'm just trying to feel what feels like it wants to be heard here.
Enslavement to a path you did not choose for yourself. It's my duty.
Okay, so what I would say is, so far, once this G note on the French horn hangs over, the emptiness of it, other than that one note on the bottom, feels really good to me. It's not calling for something else yet.
Did not choose for yourself. It's my duty. Prince does.
Okay, maybe there. Okay, maybe something
Did not
like that.
choose for yourself. It's my duty. A prince doesn't marry for...
Not bad.
Did not choose for yourself.
After he gets done
It's
talking.
my duty. A prince doesn't marry for love. Again.
Okay, that worked.
Enslavement to a path you did not choose for yourself. It's my duty. A prince doesn't marry for...
Okay, so now from a rhythm standpoint, you would think there's going to be some idea here, then there's an idea here. You'd think there's probably going to be some idea that wants to be here. Now I notice, by the way, that there happens to be a gap in the dialogue there. Interesting. Okay, let's keep rolling with it.
Duty. A prince doesn't marry for...
Okay, so now if we're going to be John Williams, then we probably want to use, like, one thing Johnny does a lot is, he would go, what did I just do there musically? Let me look. We were on G. Okay, so what I did was I went from B flat, so I'm basically treating the G like a G minor chord. And then what I did was I said, well, okay, we don't want to go dissonant like this. Here's the G. Well, I mean, actually, the G is on the bottom. Okay, so it would be pretty dissonant to just put in something like this. Okay, that's really scary. Well, that's because an octave up from this G, I'm playing a G sharp. That's really dissonant. Okay, well, what if I put one note under it and one note over it that's really close? Wow, that's interesting too. It's a little different than this. You see what I'm saying? And the thing is, speaking of JW, all of those techniques are pretty interchangeable. I mean, I submit pretty firmly that if you take some of the exciting music in, let's just say, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and you take some of the really high energy, exciting, dissonant music moments in that movie, you could change the notes to 10,000 different variations and it would all feel basically the same. Now, JW obviously has incredible taste. That guy, in fact, I've probably said it before, but the latest score he did, which was the last Indiana Jones movie, Indiana Jones and the, what is it? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. I'm not going to waste my time thinking about it right now. But the most recent score he did, I find to be, even though you would think it's a little cheeseball because it's an Indiana Jones movie, I'm telling you that score has everything in it. I mean, there's moments that harken back to the theme that oh man, his name's escaping me too. The guy that not North. It's right on the tip of my tongue. The guy that wrote the theme song to Star Trek. Okay, John Williams didn't write that, but there's something in that score that harkens back to that composer, whom John Williams very much respects. You can hear little pieces of Star Wars, the Imperial March. You can hear it just sneaking in the score for the latest Indiana Jones movie has everything in it. To me, I listened to the whole thing. I'm like, everything JW's ever done is here somewhere. Now that's not really true because he's really an accomplished jazz composer, writer, piano player. I mean, he's a hell of a jazz guy. You don't really hear it much in his film scores. But anyway, the point I was making was that what Johnny might do, I did this. What was I doing? There was a G and I went. Okay, so what he might do is he'd do something like this. Where it's just like the old composers did, you know. It's like you just echo the idea. So what I'm thinking is, what if we put it in reverse as a variation? Okay, I'm just gonna try it. I have no idea if this will work.
Love again, says Golik. Asher is a penniless monk who cares about.
Okay, in principle that kind of worked, but I did it with the wrong instrumentation, and I also did it an octave up. So I'm gonna throw it into the clarinet just to see what happens. And I'm going to pipe it way down, put it back in the French horn, and then take this and do the math again, which is going to be star key to open the menu and go -12. I'm going to lower the French horns an octave. So now I've got the clarinet and the French horns both echoing this figure, but it's going down instead of going up. Let's take the vocals out so you guys can hear what the heck I'm even talking about. So that's our first idea. And then this will be the opposite. Not bad. It feels good. It feels good. All right, so let's take this and pump the clarinets up just a bit. I like it a lot. Okay, let's keep going then.
My duty. A prince doesn't marry.
Yeah, Alexander Courage. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was Alexander Courage I was thinking of. But yeah, John Williams, I mean, if you look at old interviews or whatever, John knew Alexander Courage, had nothing but respect for the guy. They were peers, you know. Yeah.
Duty. A prince doesn't marry for.
When I said North, I'm losing the first name. My brain wants to say Oliver North, which obviously that's right, the Iran-Contra guy. What the hell was North's first name? But he was another composer who kind of took over for, another peer of John Williams and Alexander Courage would have been blank North. I can't remember his first name. Anybody know?
A prince doesn't marry for.
Now here, so we have this reverse figure.
Again, says Golik. Asher is a.
I love that. I love it. See, to me, this is where the magic happens. Because why is this magical? It's magical because intuitively it feels like this wants to have an equal rhythm to it. Boom, boom, boom. Probably another boom here. And isn't it interesting that there happens to be a hole in the dialogue here as well? That's really interesting to me because what you find is when you're doing an edit or when you're creating music, if you don't find that your show or your whatever your expression is, well, let me reverse that. Let me say it a different way. Normally, if it's good, it probably has a rhythm and a meter to it. Most dramatically in editing. When I'm editing a movie or a cartoon, I can tap my hand on the desk at a tempo, and I will see that the show follows that tempo. The cuts will follow the tempo. And if they don't, you'll find that when you put it on the beat where you allow it to have a certain rhythm or meter to it, that it feels better. It feels more professional, if you will, you know. kind of thing. So, all right, let's keep going here. Again, I encourage everybody to weigh in the chat. Thank you guys for your comments so far. So this really worked.
Prince doesn't marry
Blah,
for
blah, and then blah,
Again,
blah.
says Golik. Asher
And I
is a
love the way it's a
penniless
little
monk who cares
stronger,
about the
too.
crown.
This, I'm shocked, actually, but I shouldn't be. But yeah,
Says
that...
Golik. Asher is a penny.
Now, if you wanted to try to clean it up a little more, what you might do is you might say, well, why are we duplicating these notes so much? If we want it to be a little less thick, what if we take out the low note in the clarinet, but take out the high note in the French horn?
Married for love.
Stuff like
Again,
that.
Says Golik. Asher is a
Yes,
penny.
that feels only slightly thinner, but it does feel like a little bit more, let's say, professional score. Okay, so if this goes down, that's going down to B flat, A sharp, whatever you want to call it. So this is dubious because it's the same exact note. Okay, we're going down, so maybe this should be contrary motion. Okay, just for fun, I think that's probably a little over the top, like it's going to be too like scary sounding or whatever. But let's see how it feels.
Says Golik. Asher is a penniless monk who. Asher is
Okay, first of all, this is totally taking over. Really needs to be soft.
a Golik. Asher is a penniless.
Okay, and I can't hear it with the voices on there, so. Yeah. And that's actually the note I think I'm wanting to hear. Nice. Now that's starting to sound like actually competent arranging, which I don't consider myself a competent arranger by any stretch of the imagination.
Asher is a penniless monk who cares about the crown and community.
Okay, so what I'm feeling like I want to feel is the same figure we had before, but probably an octave up. So let's try, I don't know, it's a little risky to use an oboe because an oboe is going to be very nasal and very pointed. But what the heck? Let's give it a try.
Asher is a penniless monk
I'm
who
gonna,
cares.
by the way, I'm going to add the G in there. That's basically what I'm trying to do. So it's G, B flat, and then landing on the A and the C.
Asher is a penniless monk who cares about the crown and community. Golik's always resented him.
Okay, and now actually, what would John Williams do? I feel like this wants to repeat. I have no idea where, but probably something like there.
Crown and community. Golik's always resented him.
You see how I deliberately jumped out of time there, by the way. I didn't go, wait a second, I gotta get to my instrument. Okay, I didn't go, I went, I let it breathe and be more human.
Golik's always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when
So what if we did this in the clarinet, so it's a little
crown
rounder?
and community. Golik's
Okay, it's going to have to definitely be toned way the heck down. Very soft. But then the more pointed one here, so it's repeating itself. Let's see how this feels in sequence. Have you been saving, by the way? I haven't. I tell you the truth, I almost never lost work in Reaper. Reaper is so stable and mature. I have so much confidence in Reaper's developer. It's basically one guy. You know, he's got a couple assistants, but he's real good. And by the way, this version of Reaper is 15 years old. Reaper's still around, still being developed, but this is from August of 2011. I just haven't had any need to upgrade.
says Golik. Asher is a penniless
keep
monk
rolling
who
with
cares
this.
about the crown
This
and
is what we're
community.
interested in.
Golik's always resented him.
Okay, okay. So let's respect the dialogue by cutting that off a little quicker.
Unity. Golik's always resented.
Okay, I want to let it bleed under a little.
Unity. Golik's always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding.
Okay, this works. It's maybe a little hot because it is coinciding with the dialogue instead of going between the dialogue.
Golik's always
That I really
resented
like.
him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was
Okay. Let's see. The contrabass is holding on to this G in the very, very low. So actually what I'm feeling maybe is trombones. Okay, so this would have to be very... Yeah, something like that. Just a little... I'll show you. Let me get up to here.
in fact go
Just a little bit of a punch. That's actually, again, another thing John Williams is really good at.
I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me.
Okay, that sucked. Okay, let's just try that.
I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told
Okay,
me.
so the trombones here came in on the second note. I better kill the voices so we can hear what we got going here. Okay, so this is a little bit early, so let's go ahead and tighten that up so it lines up nicely with this note. Okay, and then these need to be really quiet. Okay, one thing with spiccato strings or trombones is if you're looking for that blistering, that little effect right there, that spit, what you can do, this may not work, by the way, just to be clear, but often it does. What you do, it depends on how well what you're doing is hidden in the rest of the music, and in this case it's right out front for everybody to hear, so it's a little risky. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank these up like crazy, and then I'm going to put a second trombone note here. It's just a little longer. This is going to be really soft. So now what I'm trying to do is, actually, you know what? Let's get these out of the way for the moment. Since this has that spitty thing going on, I want to make this like as short as possible. Yeah, see? Just really short. So that... Yes, now it doesn't call so much attention to itself. Okay, now this feels a little... This feels a little soft. Okay. Alright, so it might be too much. I don't know. Let's see. Let's listen back.
Asher is a penniless monk who cares about the crown and community. Golik's always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding.
Okay, so this definitely does not work. It's way too much. And so I'm going to just see if it kind of works by having the spit here and then the sustained note underneath the dialogue. But if you have a misguided sense of balance like me, where you feel like, but I want something to be in there, okay, probably let's do some clarinet that dances around on the notes that we're working with, and just kind of make something that fills in that space.
I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
Okay, that worked. This, as cool as it is, get rid of it. It didn't work. It's too much.
Unity. Golik's always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about...
Okay, right there, I'm wanting to hear a really high note. Those weren't supposed to copy over.
In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding.
Okay.
grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
Okay. It feels good till about there, I guess. Okay, so now my brain's starting to get tired and I'm losing my creativity. So I might have to wrap
Golik's
it up soon.
always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about...
Okay, let's say here's velocity. Just see what happens if we punch that up so it grows, basically.
Guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they...
Boy, did that ever not work at all. I mean, in principle, it's okay, but it's way too extreme. Let's try that.
In fact, Golik was grousing about...
Right there. That note feels like it wants to give more of a sense of a climb.
In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding.
Okay, so now what I want to do is, again, think about that symmetry thing. So actually, let's take this out. Let's try it. I don't know if it'll work. I have no idea.
In fact,
Okay, that first note's too quiet.
in fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
We're going in a very dissonant direction here. But it's kind of fun, so let's just keep rolling with it. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be a little crazy. This is like, I have no idea if this is going to work at all. Okay.
In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when...
Oops, I muted the wrong thing. It's a little weird, but it might work. It's...
In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
Okay. Okay, so we need some relief. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and change
Told me
chords.
about the wedding. I was there, if you recall. Oh yeah,
Okay, why the
Kind of-
heck did that go into the bassoons? I didn't want that.
about the wedding. I was there, if you recall. Oh yeah.
I'm laughing because it's like it freaks me out sometimes how well this stuff actually works. This is a little extreme, let's be honest, but that's okay. What the heck? Let's make it more interesting by splitting this, and let's do this. Let's take the oboes and let the oboes carry the low notes, and we'll let the clarinet carry the high notes, just to see what happens.
About Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
Come on, guys, like, am I wrong? This feels great. Boom. It sounds out of time a little bit because it's like the voices sew it together so it works even when it's a little off. That's true with both, horizontally in time and vertically with harmony. You can kind of get away with murder if the surrounding context allows for it. You'd want bump, ba-da. It's not quite that. Isn't that wild? I mean, I don't even know. I mean, we could pick apart the note choice here. Like, This is again, I keep coming back to John Williams today for some reason, but this is something Johnny does a lot. He will have a melody line that you can sing along with. It'll be something like the theme from E.T. or something, where you think you remember how it goes because it's just so memorable, and yet you go back and you listen to the actual music, and he's throwing, like he's jumping octaves or, intervals bigger than a fifth, like a lot. And I think part of it is orchestration wanting to fit within the comfortable range of various instruments. That's part of it. But anyway, my point being, I'm going to throw in a really different note here just to see what it feels like. Yep, see, that feels better to me. It's not as sort of linear and predictable. Okay, this. Yep, that feels better. Isn't that crazy? It's like, God, this shouldn't work, but it does. All right, let's put the voices back in and see what we have. Let's go back a bit.
It's my duty.
So I said I wasn't really going to be scoring live, but I guess I am.
Love. Again, says Golik. Asher is a penniless monk who cares about the crown and community. Golik's always
Okay, this is not working for me. It's way too strong. And actually, I'm going to do a Johnny. I'm going to punch that up one octave.
The crown and community. Golik's community. Golik's always resented him.
I like it.
I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
Okay, so the main problem here is this really needs to be... It very much calls attention to
Golik
itself.
was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
So this feels to me... Okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to actually... This is going to be a little crazy. First of all, to smooth this out a bit, I'm going to drop this into the French horns. Okay? And then here, let's get rid of these notes. Probably we want to get rid of these notes as well, because they don't belong in the French horn.
About Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall.
Yep, this can now has a little more latitude to be lifted up a bit.
In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Okay. Okay, so we'll just go back to the G.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about that. There's something very odd about this wedding arrangement. I can't help feeling that Golik desperately wants this wedding to happen. Well, let's hope Gripson is where Tianara's wanderings will end.
Ta-da. Okay, so what the hell did I just do? What I did was I just started playing around the G minor chord. And then it's just a chromatic climb down. And then I pushed a couple other notes that turned it into a diminished chord. And that got us through to the end of the scene. Now I'm still feeling like I want to hear a little bit of something here.
Kind of forgot about that. There's something very odd about this wedding arrangement. I can't help feeling...
Yeah, I'm going to just throw in some clarinet in there. So all the clarinet's doing is dancing on... Here's the G chord. Okay? So all I'm doing is dancing around it. I'm ornamenting the chord. That's it. There's nothing fancy about
Oh,
it.
yeah.
But it feels
Kind
good.
of forgot about that. There's something very odd about this wedding arrangement. I can't help feeling that Golik desperately wants this wedding to happen. Well, let's hope Gripson is where Tianara's wanderings will end.
Okay. Don't know if that totally worked, but what I'm going to do is go down to the full strings. Go up an octave. Yep, and just punch that ending.
Golik desperately wants this wedding
So
to
it's just a diminished chord. 3, it's actually, I should say, 4 notes that are each a minor third apart.
Golik desperately wants this wedding to happen.
Very utilitarian
Well,
chord.
let's hope Gripson is where Tianara's wanderings will end.
It's like, so it's too easy, friend. It's too easy. Yeah, if anybody disagrees with me, feel free to chime in. I'm feeling like that worked pretty well. Now, this meandering stuff on the French horns, not totally sure about that. But I kind of feel it. I love it. Okay. Okay, so this circles back to the beginning of today's live stream because when I did the following music that's coming in the scene next, it was not nearly as thoughtful as what I'm doing here on this live stream. I'm just like, oh God, let's just try something, and then I'll come back to it later and see if I liked it. You know, you need to give yourself that breathing room. It's not bad. It's a little loud. Get out of the way, kid. Okay. Golly, I think it worked. Yeah, everything is a little bitey, and like these clarinet notes are. It seems like when I mix the clarinet with the French horns have a little mellower sound. And then plus sometimes it's quite nice to, do that, to just pull them an octave apart. Not bad.
Out of the way, kid. What?
Okay, so I think the last thing I'm going to do in this session is put in a little, well, first of all, let me get my bearings on my key. Oh, I went back to E. Okay. I don't have perfect pitch, friends.
Out of the way.
Okay, so that would be the 2 of an E chord. I'm just going to throw this in. I feel like maybe it should be an octave up. Nope, definitely not that. Okay. It needs to be soft though. And then let's pull that up, duplicate it in the trombones. This is going to be hot. Well, maybe not. Okay, let's do the same trick we did earlier. Okay, well that needs to be an octave down. So boom, -12. And then, yes, Oh, golly, that's nice. Okay, but I want that little punch I talked about earlier. So what I'm going to do is split this, but then the beginning of it, give it that spit we were talking about. We want that to be very, very brief. It's just a little punch. Yep. Now in this case, I tell you the truth, this will probably be even cooler. Where are we at here? We're on an F sharp. Okay, so I'm going to come bring this down an octave. Really push that up, but it's so brief you won't even notice it probably. See what I mean? Okay, I don't know if that'll work. I think it's a little too much, but we'll see.
Out of the way, kid.
Okay, not bad. What I'm missing is what I am missing is some harmony there. We'll let this go a little longer and see how it feels. Yeah, there we go. I think.
Out of the way.
Okay, so if we're going to go with something like that, which is probably questionable. Boom.
Out of the way.
You know, this is one of those things where it kind of is okay, you know, kind of works, but if we took it out, it'd probably sound better. Bop, bop. Okay, so musically it's okay. Let's see what happens if we take both of these and turn them down. Okay, so now let's try bringing these back up, but slightly muted. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Out of the way, kid.
Okay, what time is it? 11:16. Okay.
Out of the way, kid.
All right, I think that's it for me. Let's rewind a bit and look at, kind of go back here to where we started and just kind of review what's going down here today.
Who has a price on?
She's from News.
I guess we were back here.
Boat.
Monkey and I sort of found one. Found? Yep.
I don't even want to know.
I told you. I improvise.
I want soldiers stationed at every throughway.
Sir? So, the rumors were true. Our prince's runaway bride is still on the loose.
Unbelievable.
All right. I want you to make sure.
I'll make sure we're stocked with ingredients.
Yeah, okay, right. It's gonna be a busy day.
So this is Gripson.
Yes.
I love
How
that.
bad can it be?
It's so
Hold
silly.
it right there. Have any of you folks seen a girl who looks like this?
How would I know? As you can see, in Gripson, our ladies must dress modestly.
She's from Newsy, so she shouldn't be hard to spot. If you see her, let us know.
Yes, of course. I had heard that Gripson is very religious, but I had no idea.
I was here when I was 12. It's changed a lot.
This is gonna be tricky if we're gonna find food.
If I had a head covering.
You shouldn't call attention to yourself.
I agree. Tia should lay low. Looks like it's up to us, Mel.
You know how to beg.
Although I prefer not to.
Besides, those soldiers know Luca.
And they ordered him back into Newsy last night.
And if they found Tia's pendant, they will know that I lied to them.
Mm-hmm.
You can do it, Melchizedek.
Me? If these people are so religious, maybe they know Asher and I can score a few points on Asher's street cred.
The same Asher who has a price on his head and suspected of helping me escape?
I would keep your connection to Asher very much on the down low.
That blasted Asher. Asher? If it wasn't for his meddling, we wouldn't be in this mess. Says Golik. Yeah, that's right. Destiny is a funny thing. Tell me, young prince, did you want this marriage that came about in a matter of days? I know you didn't. If you weren't dancing about in the woods, you'd be back home dancing on the head of a pin. For those who benefit from your enslavement. Enslavement to a path you did not choose for yourself. It's my duty. A prince doesn't marry for love. Again, says Golik. Asher is a penniless monk who cares about the crown and community. Golik's always resented him. I guess you're right. In fact, Golik was grousing about Asher when they told me about the wedding. I was there, if you recall. Oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that. There's something very odd about this wedding arrangement. I can't help feeling that Golik desperately wants this wedding to happen. Well, let's hope Gripson is where Tianara's wanderings will end.
Okay, it's definitely pretty busy now. There's something bugging me through here. Yeah, this whole bit is too hot. That's just recorded audio, so I can just turn it down. Yep, still too hot. IMHO.
Out of the way.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that. Again, this feels a little on the busy side, and I've certainly been guilty of that plenty of times in the past, but I think that's it for today. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. As you guys know, there will be more later.